Oh, yeah,
Oh, wow, for that.
that's interesting. That's never happened before. Okay, great. And we are recording. Good evening, everyone.
Evening.
Good evening.
Welcome to the regular meeting of the Cumberland Fire regular monthly meeting of the Cumberland Fire Department. And it is May 25th. Unbelievable. It's just amazing. It's May 25th. So if I could call this meeting to order, we'll start with a roll call. Commissioner Ashenbo,
Yeah,
Commissioner Hogan,
You're on mute, Tim.
I know Tim is here. You're just muted. You muted yourself, Tim, that's all. So just find the little thing on the bottom and just unmute. Or wave your hand.
there you go.
That's good enough. Commissioner Pacone,
Here.
Commissioner Jones,
Yeah.
Commissioner Santoro,
Present.
everyone is here. Great. So
I'm here. Commissioner Christiani.
Commissioner Kutsiani, I thought I called your name. I did not. Apologize for that. Okay, now I'd like to have a moment of silence and of allegiance. Is there anyone that anyone would like to remember during this moment of silence?
Commissioner Chairperson, I would like to extend my condolences to Vincent Pacone in regards to the passing of his mother.
Thank you very much. I concur. All right, we could,
Oh, grandmother.
Grandmother.
My mom's okay.
I apologize.
That's okay.
and if we could keep Commissioner Pacone's grandmother in our thoughts.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner,
Chief Jesse Carpenter.
Yes, good point, Anna.
okay, and if we could keep Chief Jesse Carpenter in our thoughts for a moment of silence. And if we could now pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance
Allegiance to the flag
to the United
of the United States of
States of America
America,
United States of America,
and to the
and the
republic
republic
for which it
which
stands,
stands
one
one
nation,
nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with
with
liberty and justice for all.
for
all.
Thank you. All right. General announcements. Does anyone have any announcements that they would like to make at this time? Okay. Let's talk about the approval of the minutes from 4/27/21. Do I have a motion on the table?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Pacone,
second.
second by Commissioner Ashenbo. Any discussion? Hearing none, let's go to a vote. All in favor of approving the minutes from 4/27/21, say aye.
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 Oppose? Passes 7-0. Thank you. New business, beginning with discussion, consideration, and possible vote to approve the chief's report from April 2021. Chief Anderson.
Good evening, everyone. In the attached report, you'll find the Cumberland Fire District responded to 397 calls for service for the month of April. Since our last meeting, the Cumberland firefighters, along with answering calls, have been busy preparing for their emergency medical technician refresher. Cumberland has hosted mental health first aid training at the Cumberland Public Safety Complex and CVS Corporate. Instructors were made up of first responders and clinical workers. This EMT refresher is very extensive. They're really requiring a lot and they're staying busy doing that along with their regular firefighting duties. The Cumberland Water Rescue and Recovery Team has also been recertifying, thanks to the Northern Rhode Island Boys and Girls Club. They recently, yesterday, they recertified in swift water. The next 3 days, they'll be recertifying in their dive certifications. Lastly, a military surplus Humvee brush unit has been secured for Cumberland Fire. The unit will offer brush fire tow, four-wheel drive capabilities to the Valley Falls sections of town. Currently, we have one unit on the northern end of town, a pickup truck with a brush capability, four-wheel drive. But we had the opportunity to get this surplus vehicle at no cost. We had the brush unit material from the previous vehicle that was retired from service. It has come together really well, and I would also like to thank Cars Garage on Broad Street. They took the unit and painted the unit red. It was camouflage. They painted the unit red for free. Cost of materials and labor were free. So this vehicle will be used for the southern end of town, and it works out well for our deployment strategies for town coverage. Any questions?
No questions for the chief?
Nope.
So, I just did a quick math calculation here, and with just about 400 calls in the month of April, there are 30 days in April. So we were doing just about 19 calls a day on average. Is there any wonder why the trucks are falling apart?
And April was a slower month, actually, but yeah. So the age of the fleet is certainly. Steve and I have been talking about this over the last few months. The age of the fleet is certainly has us behind the eight ball. We really need to move forward with a truck replacement plan, and we're in the process of moving forward with that. But our average truck is 10 years old, or at this point, our newest truck is 11 years old. I'm sorry. Even that ladder truck is now 9 years old, and that is the newest one to the fleet. So we have aging administrative vehicles for fire prevention, deputy chiefs and administrative cars. We have aging brush units. We have aging fire apparatus. So we have a lot of work to do.
So here's a question that I don't know, maybe you could sit down with some members of the committee and take a look at, are we putting the resources that we need in the right firehouses? And I'm sure you've already thought about that, but is one particular fire station dealing with more runs than any of the others? What are we looking at for percentages, over a 5-year time period? Which fire department, or which station, not fire department, which station is doing the most calls?
Yeah,
And
I'm sorry.
in finding that out, are we providing them with the right tools? What trucks do they have? What do they need? So
yeah, I can actually even answer that now. So the Valley Falls section of town, Station 1 is the busiest, about 1,700 runs per year. The Cumberland Hills Station, Station 4, averages nearly 1,600 runs per year. The Station 2, the ladder 1, is about 1,500 runs per year. And Station 5 The North Cumberland section is about 1,400 runs per year. So they're all pretty close in comparison. And oddly, when they had these fire districts, they were situated pretty well back, for when the villages were needed their fire district. So the majority of the population is around the current fire houses. So that is the rundown of what we have that from, and that is consistently year after year. That's the order. And I believe that will be the order for the future. Yeah.
So, but if those numbers are playing out statistically, it's only, somebody's doing one extra run a day. One or two extra runs a day than the others
Right.
on any given day and for any given reason.
Right. And yesterday, the North Cumberland section of town did an extra 5 runs out of their norm. They were busy yesterday. So it's really working towards that truck replacement plan. Obviously, the Valley Falls section of town is in dire need of a new engine. Their frontline piece has a rotted frame. We're using reserve engines that are 16 to 17 years old, and they come with their cost of operating at that age also. So we would certainly readjust, maybe as the new apparatus come into service, we would look at our fleet and readjust and put trucks into reserve status, which we do need a few reserves. And it's at this point, we try to keep at least 2 reserves in service, and they've been doing the reserve fleet has been working extra hard this year, unfortunately, with the unforeseen frame damage of engine 1 and just maintenance of these vehicles. We had a vehicle that the engine hours were equivalent to half its lifespan. So the trucks are being used. They're being used hard by the nature of the job. But I believe that they're they're deployed for the needs of the community.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else have any questions for the chief?
Chief, I know we've discussed this numerous times before, and your reports have indicated each month the various runs and the types of runs that are being taken. And we all know that there are a number of runs, as we've discussed before, that seem to be of an unnecessary nature or false runs. I'm not quite sure what the terminology is. And I know we've discussed this before of trying, how can we eliminate this? And part of the discussion has resolved around how the runs come in to begin with. And I think it needs I think we've discussed the aspect of maybe updating or trying to get the people who receive the calls in the main center to be better prepared to try to eliminate unnecessary runs. I don't know.
Sure.
I
So
understand.
that's so certainly the public safety dispatchers are our first responders. They're our first line of receiving information, and that goes right up to the state level, state 911. So the state 911 currently is in the process of working to certify their call takers to EMD, emergency medical dispatchers. So that they're in the process of doing that with the 911 money that you pay with your cell phone bill. They're restructuring there. The Cumberland public safety dispatchers are also just had a meeting today in regards to this. They're doing the best as far as getting the information from the 911 as well as the people on 911. There's various steps to this. So what I can do today, what I have done, is if there is a call without actually being on scene, without getting help there and determining how many responders are needed. What I have given is if the paramedics or the if the firefighters are close to the call, get somebody there, assess, see if more personnel is needed, and then put us back into service for the major events, a triage type scenario. That's really the best I can do at this point to provide a safe community. A lot of that information you're not going to get until you get a trained provider on scene, whether that's a firefighter, EMT, or a Cumberland paramedic. You just can't. You can't do that. We've in the history of the fire service, we've evolved to going on every call because of the money. The money that you think you're saving for fuel and maintenance, and it's not worth taking the risk and putting somebody's life in jeopardy. And we've proven with early intervention, early cardiac intervention, it is not worth taking a risk to try to save a dime or a dollar. So that is why you will see a fire truck responding on an emergency, on a medical emergency. But we are doing our best to keep those fire engines in service. So when they're needed for fires or serious motor vehicle collisions or cardiac arrests, we do certainly get them in service as quickly as possible. But what we're seeing right now, we are seeing it's not lack of maintenance we're maintaining. We're just seeing the repercussions of this of the former fire districts, and we're in a situation where the current fire district, we need to replenish and replace some frontline apparatus, and that's why these costs are going up. Thank you.
I'm certainly not questioning the need for going on these various runs. Yeah, at the same time, I'm just discussing with everybody else if there was a way, as you've just brought out. No one wants to take the chance, and I understand that. Everyone's included in that. You never know when. You'd rather play safe rather than sorry. If there was just a better way of trying to, as you've just discussed, I know it comes from the top and down from the top through the bottom. And we've been going through this not for months, but through years, and getting a change to make it a perfect system. At least that's what we're shooting for. So we don't do unnecessary, if there is such a thing as an unnecessary run. I'm not suggesting there isn't. Yeah, if we could reduce some of these numbers, maybe, from 1,700 from Valley Falls down to, I'm just talking, 1,300. North Cumberland from 1,400 down to 1,100.
Sure. And point
It's
taken.
the perfect world.
And point taken. And I could add one other thing that I failed to mention. Really, what set us back also is the COVID pandemic. It is my goal and my intention to provide community risk reduction. As we need to get out and educate the public, both fire and EMS. We also need to prevent the calls from happening. And we certainly, the very last thing we want to do to kind of go along with what you're saying is respond to these calls. So really, we need to redirect, refocus towards community risk reduction, and that might, along with these educating the paramedics and I apologize, educating the dispatchers and the 911 call takers, we'll have a safer community, and maybe we'll see our savings there.
If I could just
Aware of this.
a quick comment, Phil, and Dana, maybe you could comment. As someone who monitors the radio at night and when I'm awake in the evenings, Dana, you could probably comment yourself. I think our paramedics to our Chief Plakus have done a really good job over the last year or two in canceling the engine as soon as possible when they've gone to calls. So the paramedics have really taken the bull by the horn and canceled engine 1, engine 2 and 4 and the ladder as soon as possible when they've assessed the non-need for the fire engine to respond to the calls. And I think they've been really good about putting our fire trucks back into service as soon as they can and helping us out, recognizing that our fire trucks are falling apart. So I do want to give credit to Chief Plakus and to his paramedic squads for doing that. I do monitor. I do hear them at night doing this on a regular basis. So I think the chief is right that we're dealing with just old fire trucks that are just in Cumberland roads that have potholes that, driving that ladder up Angel Road, Mendon Road, doing, the potholes. The basic problem is more so that they're just old and they're just falling apart. I think that is more of the issue than responding to calls where they're not needed.
Commissioner Santoro, I just want to, the fire apparatus are not falling apart. They're just
I
requiring
didn't mean
more
falling apart.
maintenance.
I just mean they're aging. I used the wrong word.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. They're just aging. They're aging. They're heavy. They're what, 15,000-pound trucks, and they're aging appropriately.
Correct.
I used the wrong word. I take that word back. I'm sorry.
Thank you. We still have a safe community is what I want to.
Of course. Yeah, of course we do.
Paul, do you have a would you want, just?
No, Dan, I mean, you still monitor the scanner. You hear the radio. You hear that the paramedics do call off our engine company when needed, right?
Yeah, just not to cross into operations, but,
Yeah, I don't want to interrupt operations at all.
no,
That's
it's not that, but I do observe that the EMS paramedic units do release our trucks back into service. And it's for it's obvious reason that it's another asset available for another medical emergency. It frees that unit up. But another part that hasn't really been talked, and I think that, the chief would concur, is the packaging of the patient. It's not just, if it's a broken limb or something, it might not be life-threatening, but it's the packaging of the patient and removing that patient to the ambulance. It takes more than 2 people usually. Chief, did you want to say something along that line?
Sure. So the EMS canceling or getting us into service as quick as possible, it was a collaborated effort with myself and Chief Plakus. So that was an item that was a way that we could address that. So certainly calls do require manpower. So they require not everybody can walk to the stretcher. Many people have to be carried to the out to the ambulance. We've had victims in the woods. We've had victims that needed to be carried that required more than one engine. It is manpower intensive, and just to go, yes, until we get somebody there, that dispatcher is not going to be able to size up that scene. So I feel that we are operating as safely as we can and using prudent measures to provide the service that we provide. Thanks.
Thank you, Chief. Yeah, so, at this conjecture, we talk about triage and so forth. It's getting there as far as dispatch, and it's a work in progress. But Paul, to your answer is, yeah, I do notice that the paramedics release our trucks back into service as soon as they can, so that it's another asset back into the community that's not tied up.
Sure. And I apologize, Chief, for using the improper language.
Okay,
I make a motion to accept the chief's report.
hold on one second.
Oh.
Any further questions for the chief from anyone? Okay, Paul,
I make a motion to accept the chief's report for May 2021.
Commissioner Santoro has made a motion to accept the chief's report from April 2021. Is there a second?
Oh, April.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Jones. Any further discussion? Hearing none, let's go to a vote. All in favor of accepting the chief's report from April of 2021, please say, raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
I,
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 7-0. Next on the agenda, discussion, consideration, and possible vote to approve the finance director's report from April 2021. Steve?
Good evening, everyone. You all have the reports ahead of time as usual. I just want to bring to your attention that the collection report, we are at 98% as of the end of April for collections. Just kind of where we were last year at this time, so we're in pretty good shape with that. And the profit and loss, for April, we're at 78.6% spent. And I ran one today, so as of today, we are at 85%. So we're almost at the month, at the end of the month. So I think we're gonna be in pretty good shape through the end of June for this budget period. If anyone has any questions for me, I'll be happy to answer.
Anyone have any questions for the finance director? Hearing none? Let's go to, can I have a motion on the table to accept the finance director's report?
Motion to
Madam
accept the
Chair.
finances report.
Motion by Commissioner Ashambo. Is there a second?
I'll
I'll
second that.
second.
All right, I called Commissioner Kutsiani first, so. Seconded by Commissioner Kutsiani. All in favor of accepting the finance director's report from April 2021, raise your hand or say aye.
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 Opposed? Passes 7-0. Okay, next on the agenda is discussion, consideration, and possible vote to approve an employment contract for Nicholas Anderson as chief of the Cumberland Fire District. So gentlemen, we reviewed the contract again, working with Chief Anderson, addressing concerns that some of you had. And you received a copy of the contract with Nick's signature, which addressed the possible tentative agreement. So similar to a tentative agreement, Nick has agreed to the contract, and it's just a matter of hearing from you, your thoughts, and taking a vote. So I'll open it up for discussion if anyone has any discussion regarding the contract. None. No one?
Nope, all set. He's
I
good
make a
with it.
mo-
I'm good with it.
I make a motion that we approve the contract as presented.
Okay, there's a motion on the table to accept the contract as presented for Chief Nicholas Anderson. Sorry, I'm writing things down here. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Commissioner Ashambo. Any further discussion?
Madam Chair.
Commissioner,
Yes, I'd just like to bring to everyone's attention that the contract calls for various compensation to be paid to the chief. But we all know that included in that is years of dedicated service to the town, longevity, and other aspects that he would have been entitled to if he had stayed in his former position and was just grouped as part of this contract to keep it fair and equitable.
so I understand what you're saying, Commissioner Kutsiani. What you're saying is that a variety of other areas that would have been normally funded, like EMTs and longevity, are in the total amount for his salary. Is that what you were saying?
That is correct.
Thank you, Commissioner Kutsiani. Does anyone have any other questions or concerns? Okay, I'd like to do a roll call vote, please, because it is a contract. So, Commissioner Archambault,
Approve.
Commissioner Santoro,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner Kutsiani, Commissioner Pacone,
Yes, for me.
Commissioner Hogan. And I approve
Yes.
also. Congratulations. The roll call is 7-0 in favor of approving the contract for Chief Anderson for the Cumberland Fire Department. Congratulations, Chief, finally. Thank you, everyone, for your hard work for this. I appreciate that. Nice job.
Madam Chair, I think what that vote is implied that you have the authority to sign that contract. I think that's implied in the vote with the approval by the fire board.
That is correct. And I will sign that contract and make it official. Okay. Moving to the finance portion of the Cumberland Fire Department. This is going to be the first budget public hearing to establish an operating budget for the Cumberland Fire District fiscal year 2021-2022. And I would like to turn this over to the chairperson of the Finance Committee, Commissioner Pacone.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Appreciate it. So the Finance Subcommittee met once last week and once this week and has voted in favor of sending this budget for your consideration. I believe everyone should have a copy of it, everyone on the board. And similar to years past, we're going to go through 3 different budget hearings to approve this, to ratify the budget and give not just the members of the board, but members of the public some time to address any concerns or ask any questions that they may have. So with as much fun as this has been in the last couple of years, we're going to keep the format pretty much the same. So I'm going to go through each section, not quite line by line, but we're going to go in chunks, and I'm going to address any sections that the variance from previous years is significant, or if there's any special concerns or any special call-outs that need to be made in those areas. So before I get started, any questions about process or how this will work?
Are we assume, you hear me, Ben?
Loud and clear.
Are we assuming a 4% increase?
Yes,
Okay.
we are. So that's a good segue. Commissioner Santoro, thanks. So we're going to go right into line. I'm going to call them up by the categories, not the line numbers in Excel, so everyone can follow along similarly. So the tax revenue for 2021, which is line 4,000.06, is it's $8,420,914, which is a 4% increase over last year's budget. We're conservative with this one as well, and see, correct me if I'm wrong, but we estimated a 97% tax collection rate, which is a little bit lower than what our average is, but we'd rather undershoot it just to be on the cautious side to make sure that we're not overextending.
Yes, Vinny, it is 97%.
Great, thanks. I'm going to go through the next few lines kind of in a group. So tax revenue in prior years, this number is budgeted to be a little bit higher because of how the numbers are accrued. So I don't know that there's a significant reason for that number being higher. It seems to be just how it's being calculated. The next, 4 or 5 lines are essentially the same. You'll see in lines 4,050 through 4,077 that the numbers are slightly higher. That's just because in anything that you see interest income, we've switched some of the bank accounts, so we're earning a slightly higher interest rate. So I think instead of 0.001, it's 0.1 maybe. So not a significant change, but just something worth mentioning, maximizing the funds that we have there. Line 4103 is their safer grant income. So this, you're going to notice, has been decreasing over the last few years. So if you'll recall in the safer grant, when we signed up for it, the amounts that we were reimbursed declined each year. So this we are, for that reason, and also because the safer grant is going to be expiring in February of 2022, the numbers are a good amount lower. So come 2021, 22 fiscal year, we're going to see only 33,500 in income for that safer grant. Line, the next two lines, the AFG 19 lines, are grants that we've received. So the amount you see here, the 85,000 and 20,000, the amounts for those two grants. I believe those were discussed previously, but if anyone wants, we can just give a quick rundown of what those will include.
I have a question or statement. As you just pointed out, some of the matters are going to go down, and we're fortunate enough to make up some differences, like with those equipment aspects and those equipment grants. And I know that we continue to look month after month, year after year, for any such grants that are out there. So maybe, even though these are running out, hopefully we might be able to find other grants in the succeeding months or year, or whatever the case may be.
Correct. I know the chief has a grant writing committee of firefighters that have been working on that. So there is one additional one in the works to upgrade our radios. I don't know, we haven't heard a definite answer on that one yet. So that is still pending. But these AFG 19 grants that you see here are two that we've gotten confirmation on. All right, I'm going to skip mostly through the next few sections. You'll see 4110.2 insurance reimbursement was 40,000 last year and is only projected to be about 1,000 this year. That was from the accident that one of the apparatus was in. That was the reimbursement from our insurance company for that accident. So that money is going to be spent on repairs for the truck if it hasn't already been. We're going to skip right down to line 4115, and that's tax sale fee income. So you'll notice budgeted for 2020 to 2021, we have budgeted 115,000. There are going to be two tax sales in the current fiscal year due to COVID restrictions and changing policies for that. So the number's declining to 85,000 for fiscal year 22 because we're only having one tax sale. That brings us to the end of income section. So 9,157,130,000 is our projected income for this upcoming fiscal year. So I'll give some time while we're at the end of the section here. If anyone has questions, whether that be from the board or from the public, any questions on income, any of those income lines at all. All right, everyone's still muted. So
Sorry, Commissioner Bacone, I just wanted to reinforce if anyone from the public has any questions on the income side of this particular budget. Now is your opportunity just to question that side.
all right, still see red microphone. So we're going to go into expenses. So the first group we'll look at is 6,100 through 6,130, which is the air cascade maintenance. So these are remaining mostly the same. Vehicle gas and oil, we are keeping around the same. Repairs and maintenance, we've increased slightly to 112,000. As you can see, we're currently over budget for the current fiscal year. So as we discussed before, we have an aging fleet that needs some extra love. So we've been making sure that those repairs are all done on a timely maintenance, as well as any of the preventative maintenance that we can do to ensure that they keep going. Everything else remains effectively the same. So we'll move on. 6145 shared communications down to 6210. Also on these, not much of a change. don't need to go through them line by line, but if you see anything that you have questions on, please feel free to call it out. The next couple lines will just cover on their own. Hydrant fees 6215. Both of those are staying the same as they have years past. I know it's a little bit of a sore subject for some people, but it is what it is, and we'll move on. All right, so the next few sections will take a little bit slower because this accounts for the majority of the expenses. So line 6400.01 firefighter salaries. We can be pretty precise on that one just based off of the staff that we have right now. So 3.2 million being allocated to those regular salaries. Right below that, EMT incentive is, I think, pretty accurate as well. So if we go one more line down to overtime wages, 1.089 million has been allocated to overtime. So there are a few things that are factoring into that increase. So we'll go through those. The first one, as we had mentioned before, the SAFER grant does expire in February of 2022. So those additional 2 bodies that we have will not be able to cover overtime. They'll be assigned to trucks that are in need of permanent staffing, we'll call it. The other increase that you're seeing is due to in the current collective bargaining agreement, we're currently in 11-man staffing. So each truck has 3 people allocated to it, except for 1. If there's a call out or any sick time off, IODs, one person, one of those spots doesn't get filled. So effectively we have 12 people on per shift, but we're in the event of 1 absence, we're not filling one of those absences. The current CBA gave us that 11-man staffing through January of 2022. So what you're seeing in this year's budget is 6 months of 11-man staffing, 6 months of 12-man staffing, which is increasing the projected overtime rate, since we are going to be filling that 12th person from January to July, which is the end of the current CBA.
Vinny,
Yes.
can I ask you why you're putting that into overtime and not into regular staffing?
Yes, because there's 12 people assigned per shift. So that's already assigned into the regular firefighter salaries.
Yeah.
What you're going to see is if there's, let's say, someone calls out, let's say we have someone sick and
No, I know, I get that point, but
so that position needs to be filled as an overtime shift.
I get that. But at the end of January,
Mhm.
when it becomes January 1st, 2022,
Yep.
they're going to be getting paid at the regular pay rate, not the overtime pay rate.
Right, but what you're effectively what's going to happen in January is, so let's say December 31st this happens, right? We have 12 people scheduled, 1 calls out. Now we have 11 people that are working.
I got that.
In January 2nd, what would happen is we have 12 people scheduled, 1 calls out. We have 1 person coming for an overtime shift. So effectively we have 13 people on the books on that day. So that's why you're seeing the salary number where it is and the overtime is increased based on the fact that we would have to fill that with, call it a 13th person rather than maintaining what we had before. Did I explain that okay, or?
No. So when we go back to, right now we have 12, and we go to, right now we have 11.
Right.
Right? And the first person calls out, we do not fill that spot.
Mhm.
Right? And then when we go to 12,
Yep.
somebody calls out, we still do not fill that spot.
Commissioner Pacona, I believe I understand what Commissioner Santoro is asking. So line 6400-01 firefighter salaries. Commissioner Santoro, that is the number of firefighters that we have for their base pay. What Commissioner Pacone was talking about in 6400-03 overtime wages, the firefighters with that 11-man minimum manning of 11 for the first 6 months. What we did was we had to figure out the average for 6 months using 11, that 11-man shift. So then we did have a little bit of a savings there. The increase in overtime because of the minimum manning of 12 happens after January. We didn't gain an extra firefighter. We currently employ those firefighters
I understand.
so that the base salaries are in 6400-01. Does that make sense? So that line is taken care of. It's just that there's 6 months of essentially savings with reducing that minimum manning of 11.
I get that, but what I'm trying to understand is why we're going to be paying them a 1.5 times their pay rate from January to June of 22.
So that was a contractual item, 2.5 years. Minimum manning was 11. The last 6 months of the contract, the minimum manning was agreed upon to keep it 12 firefighter minimum manning.
Yes,
So we had to increase the overtime to accommodate those 6 months.
that's in the contract. It says they get paid 1.5 from January.
Overtime is beyond 42 hours is 1.5.
So I get that, but I'm just saying, I know, I'm happy that the firefighters they helped us and saved, they saved us for that. I just don't understand how when they come back to and go back to what they should be at the 12, are they going to be getting paid at 1.5?
No, I'm sorry.
Now
Now I hear you. I hear what you're saying.
Yes.
So as Commissioner Bacone said, when for the first 6 months of this budget, if there was a call out for whatever reason, we would take one person off of ladder 1 and put them into that first call out to save an overtime position. And we can do that for the first 6 months according to the CBA.
Mhm.
January 1st, we need to maintain 12 firefighters per shift.
I understand.
So those firefighters are getting, they're getting, the firefighters that come to work for their normal hours are getting their regular rate.
Exactly.
So it's just,
So why is it in the overtime line and not the regular straight pay line?
so if no one calls out, we're talking about 6400-01 firefighter salaries. If somebody does call out for whatever reason, then it would create overtime to maintain minimum manning and overtime wages.
Okay, so for those 6 months, we no longer have we lose that for 6 months from January 1st till of 2022 till January 1st, June 30th, 22. We have to stay at 12 person no matter what. We do not have the ability to just not refill that first call out spot.
Right.
That is correct. That was agreed upon in the collective bargaining agreement in 2019.
Okay, because in the past, we've always allowed that one person to call out and not be filled in.
Correct, for 2.5 years, yes.
Okay, but now it's not allowed anymore.
For the last 6 months, correct.
Okay, and that'll be covered by an overtime person
To maintain manning, yes,
at 12, where it should be.
correct.
Okay, good. Now I understand. Great.
Thanks, Chief. Appreciate your help. I'll give a quick pause there. I know we went through a lot with overtime, so if anyone else has some questions, please feel free to jump in.
Madam Chair, I assume that at this point, anybody from the public who has any questions would be able to ask them also.
That is correct, Commissioner.
Thank you.
And if people don't want to ask through their audio, they can ask in the chat box, and I can monitor the chat box during this discussion.
We have a few more sections in the 6400 category, we'll call it. But I believe with that one obvious exception, everything else stays pretty consistent. Most of these lines are contractual, so they don't change much from year to year. All of the pay related line items are going up slightly because the collective bargaining agreement does allow for pay increase and longevity increase as well. So you'll see a few increases to effectively all of those numbers as a result. And that should pretty much finish off the 6400 section. So 6401, which is payroll tax expense, and we'll go down to the end of 6520. So a little bit of a larger gap there. Yeah.
Sorry, I don't have, my computer won't allow me to pull the contract, the budget in front of me with other things, right, to go from memory. Is there a line item in there to increase the salaries for the administrative staff as well?
So admin pay is a little bit farther down, so I can give you a little bit of info for that when we get there.
I can wait till we get there.
Okay, thanks.
I just want to make sure we take care of them and increase their pay.
There's yeah, I'll jump down to that section in a few.
When we get there.
Healthcare, which is line 64, 10.01. Healthcare increased this year by 3.8%, which is slightly less than the average, which healthcare usually increases by, which is around 5%. So that helps. Every little bit helps. So we caught a little bit of a break there. And everything else, like I mentioned, up to line 6520 is contractual, so very little variance on those. So line 6600, Commissioner Santoro, as you asked, is administrative salaries, and we had an increase there from let's see, 183,000 in 2020 through 2021 to 211,000 in 21 through 2022. So. Part of that was because there was a part-time position last year that was not filled. So that position is being filled this year. So you'll see a slight increase there. And Steve, correct me if I'm wrong, but we had a couple small increases for some of the staff as well. That's correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Good, fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Well deserved.
Yeah. And have they been notified, or are we spilling the beans here on the call?
They have not been notified yet. I wanted to wait till after the whole thing got approved, so.
Sorry, surprise. All right, healthcare, the next few lines, we can skip through those because those are similar costs. Line 6701 stays the same as previous years, and that's our insurance coverage. We do have built into there a policy which covers a portion of injured on duty pay. If the firefighter has been out for a certain amount of time, I believe it covers up to 70% of their IOD salary. So we've used that quite a bit in the past. These last couple of years, knock on wood, we've not had to, which is good that we haven't needed it. We haven't had people getting injured. So we do have that policy. The premium on that is about $270,000. We're going to keep that policy for the upcoming year, or we're proposing to keep that policy for the upcoming year, just because we haven't built up enough of a savings cushion just yet in the event that we have any either long-term IODs or multiple IODs that come up. We want to make sure that cost is fixed and that we have some reimbursement if we need it, rather than kind of jumping without a parachute, so to speak. That's the same rationale as previous years also. So nothing new for that. Just wanted to call it out since it's a fairly large number. And then if we look at the legal line 6703, and we'll go all the way down to 6711, which is fire chief expenses. Everything is pretty similar here. No major changes. You'll see, I think the only significant one to mention is 6709.02, which is the tax collection system upgrade. So The town, Cumberland, town of Cumberland and the fire district both use vision software to calculate tax rates. Last year, Cumberland, the town upgraded their system. So since we use the same one as they do, we also had to upgrade as well. So the cost for that in fiscal year 21 is 11,250. That increased this year to 22,500 and will be the same amount for next year as well. So you'll see an increase in that line, 6709.2, but you'll also see that number remain consistent next year. And then that's just a 3-year payment plan. So after that, we won't have to, that'll be something that comes off the budget. And I don't think that we'll have to worry about that one for a while. I think I want to say it was about 10 years or so that that since Vision last upgraded the software. So that should last us quite a while. All right, any questions up to that point? All right, moving along. These next few are quick, so I won't take up too much more of everyone's time. 6713.01 and 0.02. So you'll see the AFG 19 equipment and training grants here. So there's a slight expense for these two grants that we received. There's a 10% match. So since we received 85,000 for the equipment and 20,000 for the training, we have to kick in 10% of each of those numbers as our match. So those are being budgeted now. And I believe the rest of this section stays pretty much the same. 6714 through 6800 are all being budgeted right around the same rate. All right, and 6905.01, 2 and 3 are all trainings that we've budgeted for, pretty similar amounts to previous years. For academy training, Chief, correct me, how many do we have? How many are we expecting to go through the academy this year?
So we budgeted a little high. We budgeted for potentially 3 firefighters to go through training. That is with the assumption of retirements. So we wanted to have that available. We do not have at this time commitments on those retirements, but it would be up to 3.
Great, thank you. And as you can see, in fiscal year 21, we weren't able to send anyone to the academy. It wasn't held due to COVID-19 protocol. So we did, we have that accounted for this year. I don't see any reason why we wouldn't, those wouldn't be able to be held this year. All right, and I want to say the rest of these lines up to 7050 are pretty similar and don't necessarily need me to call anything up, but I'll pause just to give everyone a minute or two to ask any questions. All right, so what we have left will divide into 2 more sections. So we have lines 7085, there's 4 lines there. In the event that we do need a TAN for the fiscal year 21-22, we've allocated, we've budgeted for those. We've budgeted for those here, same amounts as we have in the last few years. The current year that we're in, we're not expecting to need the TAN, so we actually should save a little bit on line 7085.01, which is the interest expense. So if there's no TAN, there's no interest. So hopefully, if we keep, if things stay the way they are now, we can take that 4,200 and wipe that because there's no interest expense there. So it looks likely. We just wanted to account for it just in the event that something happens. And 2 sections, last but not least. So we have 7310, which is capital improvements, and 8,000, which is the general reserves account, where we're going to be able to put 12,000 to capital improvements in fiscal year 22, and which leaves us with 10,000 to go into the general reserve account. So at the end of 2020, when that fiscal year ended, we did have enough of a surplus to cover our deficit, which It's obviously a great step for us financially. So we're able to bank some of that money this year and actually the current fiscal year as well. So that's not a huge surplus, but we are happy to be back in the black and be able to put at least something away. That brings expenses to 9.1 million, which is the same as our income. So that puts us right even. And that is our current fiscal budget as we have it here. So I want to thank everyone in the admin staff, Steve, Beth, Chief, and I know there was a lot of other help in the office as well. So thanks to the three of you, you made this pretty painless. So I do appreciate it. And Commissioners Archibald and Kutsiani from the Finance Subcommittee for their attention and meetings over the last couple weeks to finalize these as well. So happy to entertain any overall questions, either from the public or from the board.
Ben, Philip
Yes.
Cucciani speaking. I know we all would like to see in those some of those category line items, specifically capital improvements, vehicle procurement, et cetera, to be at a higher level. But in relationship to the monies that are coming in, I mean, it speaks for itself. We have these ongoing expenses that are pretty current. We want to keep them current. So we really have no hopefully can increase those other capital improvements or vehicle procurement aspects at this point in time. Hopefully that's going to change in the future. We'd like to see it change, I think, if we could find ways to do so.
Yeah, I completely agree. So with the 4% increase from this year, that effectively covered the salary increase, covered the increase to 12-man staffing for the back half of the year, and it covered the increases in our pension fund and in healthcare. So that 4% went pretty quick this year. So that's where we are currently at right now.
All right, well, thank you, Commissioner Picone and the members of the Finance Committee. And certainly our Finance Director. I can't imagine that this is an easy process trying to wrap around the budget needs with what we have for budget. So I appreciate the efforts that you've gone through. I think you've done a great job. So congratulations on round one. And I'm assuming that the public does not have any further questions or have any questions or comments at all. Now is the time to ask or say something. All right, hearing none. Is there a motion on the table to vote to accept the Finance Subcommittee's fiscal year 2021-2022 budget recommendations?
Is this the night for that? I thought we were doing that on 2 different nights.
So I think we need, I want to say we need 3 votes.
3 votes.
One to accept the recommendation, and then 2 votes to vote on the budget itself.
Right.
So the vote tonight would be to accept the recommendation from the subcommittee, and then the 2 subsequent meetings we would vote on the contents of the budget, which effectively is the same thing, I guess.
Okay. Then I make the motion to accept the recommendation.
Motion to accept the recommendation of the Finance Subcommittee's fiscal year 2021-2022 budget recommendation by Commissioner Santoro. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Hogan. Any further discussion? Hearing none, let's go to a vote. I believe we should do this. No, we don't have to do this individually. Hearing none, let's go to a vote. All in favor of accepting the budget recommendations by the Fiscal Subcommittee for 2021-2022's budget, say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 7-0. Thank you very much.
Good
Do
job.
we have any?
Good job, Jen.
Yeah, nice job. Good work, everybody.
Do we have any public input? I know it takes a moment or two. Okay, then is there a motion to adjourn?
Madam
Motion to
Chair,
adjourn.
before you take the motion to adjourn, I see there's someone with a chat line item. Is that something that involves us at all?
That was the chair offering to people to ask questions.
No, there is, I don't see any comments in the chat. Nope.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn by Commissioner Santoro. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Hogan. Any further discussion? Hearing none, let's go to a vote. All in favor of adjourning, say aye, raise your hand.
Aye.
I
Opposed? Passes 7-0. This meeting is adjourned. See you on Tuesday.
Good night.
Thursday, sorry. See you
Good
on
night.
Thursday.
Good night.
Tuesday. That's
Tuesday.
Tuesday.